In the velvet dark between stars, the great hive fleets of the Zenthari drifted silent and vast, their crystalline ships humming with the low thrum of ancient engines. The Zenthari were tall, elegant beings with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that shimmered like liquid silver. They ruled 1,000 worlds through grace and genetic perfection. Their society prized lineage above all else, and none held more lineage than Princess Lyra. The last daughter of the Eternal Queen, Lyra, had refused. Every suitor the High Lords of the Seven Spires had offered her, each more powerful and ancient than the last. She turned them away, not with anger but with quiet sorrow, for none stirred the dormant fire within her blood. None made her feel the ancient pull that every Zenthari female must answer before her 30th cycle, or fade into sterile silence. Time ran thin her mother. The queen watched with growing worry from her throne of living coral. The royal bloodline thinned with each passing moon, and Lyra showed no sign of choosing a mate. The council murmured behind veiled whispers that perhaps the princess was broken, that the sacred spark had dimmed in her. Then came the human. Her name was Lily Carter, a xenobiologist from Earth assigned to the neutral research station Orbit 7. She was small compared to the towering Zenthari, with warm brown skin, soft dark curls, and eyes full of quiet curiosity. She wore simple gray coveralls and carried no weapon, only a datapad and a gentle smile that seemed out of place among the cold grandeur of the alien. Court Lily had been studying Zenthari reproductive biology under strict supervision. Her work focused on the mysterious genetic markers that allowed the Zenthari to bond only with compatible mates, a process shrouded in ritual and secrecy. No outsider had ever witnessed the joining ceremony. Yet Lily's theories intrigued the Royal Science Guild enough to grant her limited access to the palace archives. Their first meeting was accidental. Lyra had been walking the moonlit gardens of the Sky Spire, lost in thought, when she saw the human woman kneeling beside a blooming star blossom, tracing its petals with careful fingers. The flower glowed faintly in response to her touch, something no Zenthari hand had ever achieved. "Who are you?" Lyra asked, her voice low and melodic. Lily looked up, startled but not afraid. "Just Lily," she said simply. "A scientist from Earth. I didn't mean to trespass." "You did not trespass. The garden welcomes those who listen." Lyra stepped closer. The star blossom still pulsed softly under Lily's fingers. "Tell me why it glows for you." "I think it senses kindness," Lily said. "It doesn't understand power or rank, just presence." Ro was silent for a long moment. Then she invited Lily to walk with her. That night became many nights. They spoke of stars and silence, of loss and longing. Lily spoke of Earth's oceans and forests, of human laughter and tears. Lyra spoke of the weight of legacy, of songs older than planets, of the ache inside her that no ritual could soothe. Weeks passed and something shifted in the air between them. The council grew uneasy. Whispers turned to warnings, but Lyra ignored them. She found herself drawn to Lily's warmth, her honesty. The way she saw not a princess, but a person. Lily, too, felt the change. She had come to study an alien species, but found herself studying a soul, one that mirrored her own loneliness in ways she could not explain. At night in her small quarters, aboard the research wing, she would replay their conversations in her mind, the soft cadence of Lyra's voice, the way her silver eyes softened when she spoke of forgotten childhood songs. Meanwhile, the crimson moon drew near, a celestial event that occurred once every 30 cycles. It marked the final window for a Zenthari female to find her bondmate. If she failed, the biological pathways would close forever, and she would live out her days in honorable but childless solitude. The palace buzzed. With tension, suitors arrived from distant systems, each more decorated and ancient than the last. They gathered in the grand hall, their obsidian forms gleaming under the bioluminescent chandeliers. They waited for the princess to make her choice, but Lyra did not appear. Instead, she walked the outer gardens alone, her hands clasped behind her back, her gaze fixed on the distant curve of Orbit 7, where Lily's station hung like a silver seed against the black. The queen summoned her daughter to the coral throne room, the air thick with unspoken fear. "You know what the crimson moon means, Lyra?" The queen said, her voice both gentle and firm. "I do, mother." "Then why do you hide from your duty?" "Because duty feels like a cage," Lyra replied, and for the first time in her life she spoke not as a princess but as a daughter. I have met someone who makes the cage feel open. The queen's eyes widened slightly. A human, yes. That is forbidden the bloodlines. The bloodlines are empty if the heart does not. Sing Mother Lyra's voice broke slightly. I have stood before lords who command fleets and hold stars in their names and felt nothing but silence inside me. But with her, even in silence I hear music. The queen looked away for a long moment, then sighed. The law says you must bond with a Xanthari male of noble line. But the old texts also say the bond chooses the soul, not the shape. Perhaps the stars have other plans, but know this, Lyra. If you follow this path, there will be no turning back. The council will not accept it easily. I know that Night Lily received a coded message not through official channels, but through a private comlink she had not known existed. It contained only 3 words come to me. Her heart pounded. She knew what. It meant the crimson moon rose in 2 days. She packed a small satchel with her notes, her personal scanner, and a single photograph of her family from Earth. Then she slipped through the service corridors of the station, avoiding security checkpoints. She had memorized during her months of work. A small shuttle waited at Bay 9, its pilot. A quiet Xanthari guard loyal to Lyra nodded once and said nothing as Lily boarded. The shuttle rose silently through the atmosphere and docked at a hidden platform. On the underside of the sky spire, Lily stepped out into a corridor lit by soft blue vines that pulsed like slow heartbeats. Lyra waited for her there. No crown, no robes, just a simple silver tunic. Her eyes wide with fear and hope. You came, I could not. Stay away, Lily said. They walked together through winding passages until they reached a private chamber high in the spire. The walls were lined with living crystal that hummed faintly in response to their presence. Lyra turned to Lily, her hands trembling. Do not know if this will work, she said. The bond has never been attempted with a human. Our biology is so different. But you feel it too, don't you? Lily asked. Yes, Lyra whispered like a storm inside. Lily reached out and touched Lyra's cheek. The Xanthari skin was warm, almost feverish, the moment their skin met. A soft golden light spread from the point of contact, filling the room with a gentle radiance. The crystals on the walls brightened in response. What is happening? Lyra breathed. I think the bond is real, Lily said, her voice filled with wonder. It is not about species. It is about truth. They sat together on a low divan, speaking in hushed tones through the night. Lyra explained the rituals, the songs, the genetic triggers that would activate. During the crimson moon, Lily listened carefully, her scientist mind racing to understand while her heart simply accepted. As dawn broke, the first rays of the twin suns painted the sky in violet and gold. Lyra stood and took Lily's hand. I must face the council today, she said. They will demand my choice. Will you tell them? I will tell them the truth. The grand hall was packed, every noble house represented, every eye fixed on the dais where the queen sat. Regal and unreadable, Lyra entered alone, her posture straight, her expression calm. She walked to the center of the hall and turned to face the assembly. I have made my choice, she announced, her voice clear and strong. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Which of the lords has won the honor? Known of them, Lyra said. I choose Lily Carter of Earth. Silence fell like a stone. Then chaos erupted, voices shouting in outrage, disbelief, fury. The head of the council, a tall male with scars across his brow, stepped forward. This is madness, he thundered. A human cannot carry the royal blood. The genes will not align. The bond will fail and you will die. Perhaps, Lyra said calmly, but if I do not try, I am already dead inside. The queen rose, then her presence commanding immediate quiet. She looked at her daughter, then at the doors of the hall. Bring her forward. Moments later, Lily entered, escorted by 2 guards, but walking tall. Her eyes locked with Lyra's. She stopped before the dais and bowed slightly, not out of submission, but respect. You stand before the oldest bloodline in the galaxy, human. The queen said, can you offer anything to this union? I offer my heart, Lily said simply, and my truth. I do not know if our biology will allow a child, but I know that Lyra is not alone anymore, and that is worth more than any gen of the council, hissed, but the queen raised a hand again. The law demands a bond before the crimson moon. It does not say the bond must be with one of us, only that it must be true if the stars accept it. So shall we. The head of the council glared but said nothing. The decision was the Queen's alone. That evening, Lyra and Lily stood on the highest balcony watching the crimson moon rise large and blood-red on the horizon. Its light cast long shadows across the spire. "You afraid?" Lily asked, as Lyra admitted. "But not of death, of losing you before I truly have you." "You won't lose me." They held hands as the moon climbed higher, its glow deepening. The air grew thick with energy. The first signs of the bonding fever began to stir in Lyra's veins. She swayed slightly, and Lily caught her. "It's starting." "I know," Lily said. "Help me get you to the chamber." They made their way through the quiet halls. The palace seemed to hold its breath. Even the crystals dimmed in. Weeks passed after the crimson moon, and the palace of the Zenthari changed in ways no one had foreseen. The rigid silence that once filled the halls gave way to a soft hum of new life. The living crystals glowed warmer. The air smelled of blooming star blossoms, even in chambers where none had grown before, and at the heart of it all walked Lyra and Lily side by side. Lyra no longer wore the heavy ceremonial robes of a princess awaiting duty. She dressed in simple silver linens that shimmered like dawn, and her steps were lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. Lily stayed close, often in quiet study or gentle conversation. Their bond had not faded with the moon. It had deepened like roots, finding water in dry stone. But peace did not come without costumers spread beyond the 7 spires to the outer colonies and allied systems. News of a human bondmate to the royal line stirred unrest among the traditional houses. Many saw it as a betrayal of purity, a dangerous break from the ancient ways. Some whispered that the royal blood was now tainted, that the Zenthari would weaken and fall to lesser species. One evening, as Lyra and Lily walked the sky gardens, a messenger arrived, breathless, his obsidian skin dull with fear. "The outer fleet of House Vorn has broken formation." He said. They refused to swear loyalty to a bloodline touched by human genes. Lyra's face hardened, but Lily placed a hand on her armlet. "Me speak to them," she said. "You are not one of us. They will not listen, maybe not, but they might listen to truth." The next morning, Lily stood before the council chamber, not as a guest but as bondmate. She wore no armor, no symbol of rank, only the quiet strength in her eyes. The lords of the outer houses stood in a half circle, their postures stiff with disapproval. "You stand among us without right, House," Vorn's leader said, his voice sharp as broken glass. "You are flesh and blood, not crystal and light, and yet I stand." Lily replied calmly, "Because Lyra chose me not for what I am, but for who I am. Just as your ancestors were chosen not for perfection, but for courage." Murmurs stirred among the younger lords. "You speak pretty words, human, but words do not carry genes. Words do not birth heirs. We do not know that yet." Lily said the bond was real. The crimson moon accepted it. The crystals sang. I felt the change in my own body. Maybe the old ways were never the only ways. The leader of House Vorn stepped closer, his silver eyes cold. "You challenge our history." "No," she said. "I honor it by asking if it can grow." Silence fell heavy and thick. Then from the back of the chamber, a young lord spoke, his voice hesitant but clear. "My sister could not bond with any suitor for 3 cycles. She faded slowly until she met a traitor from the rim worlds. They bonded in secret, and now she carries twins." The council called it shame. "But she is happy. Is that not part of our history?" 2. The room shifted like wind through tall grass. Lyra entered, then her presence calm but commanding. She stood beside Lily and faced the assembly. "I did not choose Lily to defy you," she said. "I chose her because my soul knew hers before my eyes ever saw her. If that makes me unworthy to lead, then take the crown. But know this, the bond is done, and I will not undo it for fear or pride." The queen appeared in the doorway, her coral crown glowing softly. She said nothing, but her gaze swept the room, and every lord bowed their head. Even House Vorn. After that day, the rebellion faded not with war but with quiet acceptance. The outer fleets returned to formation, and the whispers grew softer, not of shame but of wonder. Meanwhile, Lily continued her work, no longer as an outsider, but as a royal scholar. She studied the changes in her own biology. With careful notes and gentle curiosity, her cells now carried faint traces of Zenthari markers, proteins that glowed under certain light. Her dreams were filled with songs in a language she had never learned but somehow understood. One night she woke gasping, her skin shimmering with soft gold light. Lyra stirred beside her. "What is it?" "I think something is happening," Lily said. "My body, it feels like it is preparing for what?" "For life." They called the royal healers who ran gentle scans with humming devices made of living crystal. The lead healer, a female with eyes like old stars, placed a hand on Lily's stomach and smiled. "The bond has taken root deeper than we thought." She said, "The human form is adapting. It is slow but real. You carry new life, not fully Zenthari, not fully human, but something beautiful in between." Joy spread through the palace like morning light. Even the sternest lords softened at the news. A child would come, a bridge between worlds. But not all were pleased. Far beyond the 7 spires in the shadowed rings of the dead moon, a secret order known as the Keepers of Purity watched and waited. They believed the Zenthari must remain untouched by outside blood. They saw Lily not as a miracle but as a disease to be cleansed. They sent a silent ship cloaked in void mist. It slipped past the outer patrols and landed in the lower canyons beneath the sky spire. Its crew moved like ghosts through the service tunnels. Their goal-clear Lily and the unborn child Lyra sensed the danger. Before the alarm sounded, a cold ripple in the bond, a shadow where there should be light. She woke Lily just as the first intruder reached their chamber door. "They are here," Lyra whispered, drawing a slender blade of hardened crystal. Lily's heart pounded, but she did not panic. She activated the emergency beacon on her wrist and pulled a small sonic emitter from her bedside drawer, a tool she had built for research but could stun if needed. The door hissed open and 3 figures entered, tall and masked, their movements precise and deadly. "You will not take her," Lyra said, her voice low and sharp. The lead keeper stepped forward. "We do not wish to harm you, princess, only to preserve what is pure. Purity without love is empty," Lyra said, and she lunged. The fight was swift and brutal. Lyra moved with the grace of centuries, her blade singing through the air, but the keepers were trained in forbidden arts. They used pulses that disrupted Zenthari energy fields. Lyra staggered once her light, flickering. Lily fired the sonic emitter. The high-frequency blast made the keepers clutch their heads in pain. One fell. The others turned on her. But before they could reach her, the chamber doors exploded inward. Royal guards flooded in, led by the young lord who had spoken in the council, his face set in grim determination. The keepers were captured, bound in energy chains, and taken away, their ship destroyed before it could flee. Afterward, in the quiet of their chamber, Lyra held Lily close, her hands trembling. "I was so afraid I would lose you." "You didn't," Lily said, "and you won't." The queen summoned the captured keepers to the throne room the next day. She did not punish them with death as tradition demanded. Instead, she spoke to them not as enemies, but as lost children. "You fear change," she said, "but change is the breath of life. Without it, we become stone." The bond between Lyra and Lily is not a break from our ways. It is an evolution. The stars do not stop shining because a new light appears, and by one the keepers bowed their heads ashamed. In the months that followed, the palace prepared for the coming child. Gardens were planted with earth flowers alongside star blossoms. Nurseries were built with walls that hummed lullabies in both human and Zenthari tones. Lily taught the healers about human pregnancy, while they taught her the old songs that would guide the child's spirit into the worldly. Bra never left her side. She read to Lily from ancient scrolls, held her when the strange new pains came, and whispered promises of a future where their child would walk between 2 worlds with pride. One evening, as the twin sun set, painting the sky in gold and violet, Lily rested her head on Lyra's shoulder. "Do you think our child will understand both our songs?" "Yes," Lyra said, "and maybe teach us new ones." They stood together, watching the stars blink awake one by one, knowing that what they had begun was not just a family, but a new story for an ancient people, a story written not in blood alone, but in choice, in courage, and in love that dared to cross the stars. The day of birth came not with pain, but with song. The palace hummed from floor to spire as every living crystal pulsed in rhythm with Lily's breath. She lay on a soft dais woven from moonvine and earth cotton, her hands clasped in Lyra's. The queen stood at the foot of the dais, her eyes closed in ancient prayer, while healers moved like shadows around them, their silver hands glowing with gentle light. Lily had grown round with life over the past months. Her skin now held a faint golden shimmer that deepened with each passing week. Her dreams were full of twin suns and ocean waves and a small voice that whispered in a language made of both human and Zenthari sounds. As the final contractions began, the air in the chamber thickened. With energy, the walls bloomed with soft blue flowers that had never grown indoors before. Outside, the sky turned violet without clouds, a sign the old texts called the weeping of stars push. Lily Lyra whispered, her voice steady though her own heart. Praised Lily bore down, and with a cry that echoed like a bell through the palace, a child entered the world. It was small, with warm brown skin like lilies, but threaded with faint silver lines that glowed softly like starlight. Its eyes opened slowly, first one, then the other one, deep brown like earth, the other shimmering silver like the Zenthari moon. A gasp went through the chamber. The child was perfect. The lead healer wrapped the newborn in a cloth woven from both human cotton and Zenthari silk and placed it gently in Lily's arms. "She is whole," the healer said, her voice filled with awe. The first of her kind of daughter, Lyra, touched the baby's cheek, her finger trembling. The child turned its head and let out a soft coo that sounded like wind through crystal chimes. That moment, the bond between Lyra and Lily flared bright, not just between them but now through the child. A triangle of light that filled the room with warmth. News spread through the palace like fire through dry grass. The first hybrid child had been born, healthy, strong, and full of light. Messengers flew to every spire, every colony, every allied world, bearing the news not as rumor, but as truth. Even the outer houses sent gifts. House Vorn's leader arrived, in person, bearing a cradle carved from a single piece of singing stone that would hum lullabies when the child slept. But not all celebrated. Deep in the void beyond the seventh ring, a remnant of the keepers of purity gathered in a hidden station. Their faces masked, their hearts hardened. They had watched the birth through stolen signals and saw not a miracle but a warning. "The blood is changing," one said, his voice like grinding stone. "If we do not act now, it will be too late." Another added, "They activated a dormant weapon long forbidden by Zenthari law, a gene disruptor designed to unravel foreign DNA. It had been built centuries ago during the last Great War but never used. Now they aimed it not at the palace, but at the child's unique biology." The device hummed to life, a silent pulse of energy racing through subspace toward the sky spire inside the palace. Lily rocked her daughter, whose name they had chosen as Nia, meaning new dawn in both human and Zenthari tongues. The baby slept peacefully, her silver-brown skin glowing softly with each breath. Then, without warning, Nia's eyes flew open and she let out a sharp cry. Her tiny body stiffened. Her glow flickered like a dying star. Lyra felt it too. A cold ripple in the bond, a tearing sensation deep in her chest. Something is wrong. Guards rushed in as alarms blared through the halls. The Royal Science Guild traced the energy signature back to the Void Station. "They are attacking her DNA," Lyra said, her voice raw with fear. "They are trying to unmake her." Lily held Nia close, her mind racing. She remembered an old Earth concept, gene shielding, using compatible proteins to block foreign interference. "I might be able to stop it," she said, "but I need my lab and fast." They raced through the corridors, guards clearing the way, the baby's cries growing weaker with each passing second in the lab. Lily worked with frantic speed, mixing Zenthari bonding proteins with human stem cells, creating a serum that matched Nia's unique biology. "Hurry," Lyra urged, her hands glowing as she poured her own energy into the child, trying to hold her together. Lily loaded the serum into a micro-injector and pressed it to Nia's neck. The liquid glowed gold as it entered the baby's veins. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Nia took a deep breath. Her glow returned stronger than before, and she let out a soft sigh. Her eyes fluttered open and focused on Lily with clear recognition. It worked. Lily whispered, tears streaming down her face. But the threat remained. The Queen ordered the royal fleet to the seventh ring. They found the Keeper's station hidden in an asteroid field. The battle was short. The Keepers had no true warships, only stealthcraft and desperation. When the station was secured, they found logs detailing their plan, not just to kill Nia, but to release the disruptor across all Zenthari worlds to purge any trace of human influence. The Queen stood in the command center of the flagship, her face grim. "This ends now," she did not order. Their execution instead, she had them brought before the full council in chains not of metal, but of light that showed their thoughts to all. "You sought to protect purity," she said, "but you forgot that life is not static. It grows, it changes, it reaches. The child Nia is not a mistake. She is a gift, and you would have destroyed a future you could not imagine." The keepers hung their heads in shame. After that, the council passed a new law. The law of open bond. It stated that any Xanthari female could choose her bondmate by soul, not by species or rank. The old ways were not erased, but expanded like a tree growing new branches. Back in the palace, Nia grew quickly. Her mind sharp, her body strong. By 3 months she could crawl by 6. She spoke her first words in a blend of English and Xanthari that made the healers laugh and weep. She loved the gardens most of all, where earth flowers and star blossoms grew side by side. She would reach for both with equal joy, and the plants would glow in response. Lyra and Lily watched her from a bench beneath a twin sun tree, their hands entwined. "Do you think she will change the galaxy?" Lily asked. "She already has," Lyra replied. The seasons turned. The story of Nia spread far beyond Xanthari space. Other species heard of the child born of 2 worlds and began to question their own rigid laws on bonding, and lineage envoys came from distant systems, not to trade or fight, but to learn. The palace became a place of meeting, not just of power, but of possibility. One evening, as the 3 of them sat on the highest balcony watching the fleet of crystalline ships drift among the stars, Nia reached up and took one of Lyra's fingers and one of Lily's, and held them together. "Look," she said, "our light." And indeed, their joined hands glowed with a soft golden light that pulsed in time with the stars. In that quiet moment they knew the greatest legacy was not in bloodlines or thrones, but in the courage to love across the void and raise a child who would one day teach the universe that difference was not weakness, but the very heart of strength. The end. Nia grew fast, not just in body but in mind. By the time she was 2 Earth years old, she could speak 3 languages: human English, Xanthari high tongue, and the soft hum speech of the living crystals. She played in the sky gardens, chasing light moths that only appeared when she laughed, and she loved to sit between Lyra and Lily as they told stories, one from Earth, one from the stars. But as she grew, so did the weight of what she was, the first hybrid, the living bridge between 2 worlds, and not everyone saw her as a child. Some saw her as a symbol, a threat, or a weapon. On her 3rd birthday, the palace held a small celebration. Only close friends and trusted lords were invited. Nia wore a tiny tunic woven from both cotton and moon silk. Her silver-brown skin glowed softly under the twin suns as she blew out a candle made of star wax. That night, as Lyra carried her to bed, Nia looked up with serious eyes. "Mama, why do some people look at me like I'm broken?" Lyra stopped, her heart aching. "Who said that? No one said it," she whispered. "I feel it in their thoughts like cold windly." Lyra sat on the edge of the cradle and held her close. "You are not broken, Nia. You are whole in a way no one has ever been before. And that scares some people because they do not understand. Will they ever understand? Maybe not all, but some will, and you will help them." The next morning, a message arrived from the Outer Rim. A human colony ship had been attacked by raiders and damaged. It drifted near Xanthari space, its crew low on food and air. The captain had sent a distress call not to the Federation, but to Orbit 7, knowing Lily once served. There Lily read the message, her face tight with worry. "They are asking for help. We will send a rescue ship," Lyra said, "but they are humans, Lyra. Some of our people still do not trust them. Then it is time they learn." Nia said from the doorway. She stood barefoot in her sleep tunic, her eyes wide and sure. "If we help them, they will see. We are not enemies." Lyra and Lily exchanged a look, then nodded. A royal cruiser was dispatched with medical supplies and engineers. Lily went with them, not as a scientist, but as a representative of the bond. Nia begged to go too, and after much debate they agreed. The cruiser docked with the human ship. The airlock hissed open, and a weary captain stepped through, his face lined with stress. He froze when he saw Lily. Then his eyes fell on Nia, standing beside her, small hand in Lyra's. "You came," he whispered. "We did," Lily said. "And this is my daughter Nia." The captain knelt slowly, his voice thick. You are the ones from the news, the Zenthari princess and the human scientist, and our child Nia added, smiling. The humans on the ship had heard the rumors. Some doubted them, but seeing Nia with her glowing skin and calm eyes, they believed. Over the next few days, the Zenthari engineers repaired the ship's core. While healers treated the injured, Nia wandered the human corridors, asking questions about Earth animals and old songs she made. Friends with a young boy named Leo, who showed her how to play with magnetic blocks and taught her a silly rhyme about a moon cow. When it was time to leave, Leo hugged her tight. "Will I see you again?" Nia nodded. "You can visit the palace one day back." On the Sky Spire, the council was waiting. Not all were pleased that a royal ship had aided humans without formal treaty. "You risk our resources for outsiders." "One," Lord said, his voice sharp, "and what would you have us do?" "Watch them die," Lyra asked calmly. "Is that the Zenthari way?" "It is not our way to mix with lesser species." Lesser Nia stepped forward, her voice clear though she was small. "You call them lesser. But they shared their last food with us. They let me play with their toys. They cried when their friend was hurt. Is that lesser?" The Lord had no answer. After that, more human ships began to pass through Zenthari space, some out of need, some out of curiosity. Trade routes opened slowly at first, then faster as trust grew. Lily helped design a neutral exchange station where both species could meet without fear. Nia became a quiet ambassador. She did not give speeches, but she walked among both peoples with open hands. An open heart. Children followed her like light follows. Dawn, but peace never lasts long without challenge. One day a signal came from deep space, not a distress call but a warning. A new species had been found beyond the Veil Nebula. They called themselves the Kyle, and they believed all hybrid life was an abomination. To the natural order, they had already destroyed 3 mixed colonies, and now they turned their eyes toward the Zenthari spires. Their message was simple: surrender, the hybrid child, or face annihilation. Fear spread through the palace, the council argued, for hiding Nia, sending her away to a secret world. "No," Lyra said, standing before them, her voice like steel. "We will not hide her. She is not a secret. She is our future." Lily agreed. "But we cannot fight them alone. Then we ask for help." Nia said, "Who would come?" "Everyone who believes in choice." So messages went out not just to human colonies, but to every world that had ever been told they were wrong for loving across lines, to the avian singers of Sira, who mated for life regardless of clan, to the ocean dwellers of Thalassa, who welcomed all currents into their reefs, and one by one they answered, ships gathered at the edge of Zenthari space. Not a war fleet, but a wall of light and will. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species, each flying their own colors but united in one purpose. The Kale arrived in a black wedge of silent ships, their hulls sharp like knives. They sent no further words, only weapons fire, but they did not expect what met them. The Allied fleet did not return fire. Instead, they activated a field of harmonic resonance, a sound wave tuned to the frequency of life itself. It did not destroy it. Disrupted the Kale's hate-filled systems. Their weapons failed. Their engines stalled. Their minds filled not with rage, but with memories of their own lost children. The Kale commander stared at his screens, confused, his hands trembling. "What is this?" "It is the song of those you tried to silence," a voice said over the comm. It was Nia, speaking not with anger but with sorrow. "You think purity is strength, but it is just fear." Dressed in armor, the Kale ships powered down one by one. Afterward, the commander came aboard the Sky Spire alone. He was tall, with gray skin and eyes full of old pain. He looked at Nia, and for the first time in his life he saw not an abomination but a child. He was taught that mixing breaks the world, he said quietly, but maybe it heals it. Nia replied, "He left not as an enemy, but as a changed being," and word of the harmony field spread across the galaxy. And the years that followed, Nia grew into a young girl with a mind like a star map and a heart like open sky. She studied with human teachers and Zenthari elders. She learned to heal with both medicine and song. On her 10th birthday, she stood before the Grand Assembly not as a princess but as herself. "I do not want a throne," she said. "I want a school, a place where all children can learn. That difference is not danger but discovery." The Queen smiled and the council agreed. The Bridge Academy was built on a small moon between Earth and the spires, its halls filled with laughter and many tongues. its gardens blooming with flowers from 100 worlds. Lyra and Lily watched from a balcony as Nia walked among the first students, her hands full of books. Her voice full of joy. "She is more than we ever dreamed," Lily said. "She is exactly who she was meant to be." Lyra replied, and in the quiet space between stars, the universe breathed a little easier, knowing that love had built something new, not by erasing lines but by walking across them hand in hand. Years passed and the Bridge Academy grew from a single dome on the moon to a network of learning spires across 3 systems. Children of every shape and origin came not just to study math or history, but to learn how to listen, how to see beyond skin and species and find the light in each other. Nia was no longer a child but a young woman, tall like her Zenthari mother with her human mother's warm eyes and a voice that could calm storms. She wore simple robes woven from threads of many worlds and walked the halls not as a leader but as a guide, but peace had roots and roots needed tending. One morning a distress call came from the outer rim, not from a ship but from a whole planet. The world of Virel, a small colony where humans and Zenthari had built a shared city called New Harmony. It was under siege not by weapons but by silence. All communication had stopped. No signals, no ships, no life signs. Nia felt it before the message arrived, a cold hush in the bond web that connected all who had studied at the academy. She turned to Lyra and Lily, who now served as elder advisors to the Galactic Council. "Something is wrong on Virel." "We know," Lyra said, her face grim. "The Council received the same report. They think it is a new kind of weapon, one that steals. Will not life, then? We must go." They boarded a swift scout ship painted in the soft blues and golds of the Academy and flew through the void toward Virel. When they arrived, the planet looked normal from orbit: green fields, silver rivers, twin suns shining. But the city below was still no movement, no lights, no voices. They landed in the central square and stepped out into eerie quiet. "Hello." Nia called, her voice echoing off empty walls. Then a figure appeared at the end of the street, a human woman, her eyes dull, her steps slow. She walked past them without seeing them, as if they were ghosts. More followed, Zenthari males, children, elders, all moving like sleepwalkers, their faces blank, their inner light dimmed. "What happened?" Here Lily whispered. Nia knelt and placed her hand on the ground. She closed her eyes and listened. The earth hummed but weakly, like a heart barely beating. Then she felt it, a pulse not of sound but of absence, a void that fed on connection. "It is not a weapon," she said. "It is a sickness, a loneliness so deep it spreads like fog." They found the source in the old data core beneath the city hall. A failed experiment by a scientist who wanted to cure grief by removing emotional bonds. The machine had broken loose, and now it pulsed with a field that severed all ties between minds, hearts, and souls. People were not dead, but they had forgotten how to care. "We have to shut it down," Lily said. "But if we do it, suddenly they might shatter." Nia replied, "Their minds are too empty to handle the return of feeling all at once." "Then what do we do?" "Fill the silence with song." Nia climbed to the highest tower of New Harmony and began to sing. It was not a Zenthari bonding chant or a human lullaby, but something new, a melody made of both her voices weaving together, soft and strong. At first nothing happened. Then a child stopped walking and tilted her head. Nia sang louder, her voice rising like dawn. The child took a step toward the tower, then another. One by one, others paused their blank march and turned. Lyra and Lily joined the song from below, their voices blending with Nia's, the Zenthari harmonics and human warmth, creating a net of sound that wrapped around the city. Slowly the fog lifted. The woman, who had walked past them, blinked and looked around. Tears filling her eyes, she saw her neighbor, saw her child, and ran to them sobbing. Throughout the city, people fell into each other's arms, weeping, laughing, holding on as if they had just remembered what it meant to be alive. The machine below ground cracked and fell silent, its hunger starved by love. Afterward, the people of Virel rebuilt not just their city, but their trust. They added a new rule to their charter. No technology may sever the bond between beings. Back at the academy, Nia shared the story with her students. "The greatest danger is not war," she said. "It is forgetting that we belong to each other." But even as she spoke, a new worry grew in her heart. Their bond with Lyra and Lily, though strong, had begun to change, not weaken, but shift like tides responding to a distant moon. She felt it most at night, a quiet pull toward the deep void beyond known space. One evening she stood on the observation deck watching the stars. "You feel it, too, don't you?" Lily said, joining her. "Yes," Nia said, "there is something out there calling, not with words but with need." Lyra appeared beside them, her silver eyes thoughtful. "The old texts speak of the first singers, beings who shaped the stars before the Zenthari were born. They vanished long ago. But some say they left a seed, a world that sleeps, waiting for a voice that can sing in two tongues. Do you think it is real?" "I think the universe does not call unless there is an answer," so Nia made a choice. She would leave the academy, not forever, but for a time to follow. The caller parents did not try to stop her. They knew her path was her own. She took only a small ship named the Dawn Whisper and a satchel of seeds from the bridge gardens. As she lifted off, students and teachers gathered on the landing field, waving not with sadness but with hope. Her journey took her past the veil, nebula beyond the Kale homeworld, through rings of silent asteroids that hummed when she sang. After many cycles, she founded a small blue world hidden behind a curtain of light. It had no name, only a song that echoed in her bones. She landed in a field of silver grass that bent toward her like bowing elders. The air was sweet, the sky soft, and in the center of the valley stood a tree unlike any other. Its bark shimmered with both human and Zenthari patterns. Its leaves glowed with golden light. She approached the tree, pulsed, and a voice spoke, not in sound, but in feeling. "You have come. Who are you?" "We are the memory of the first bond." The voice said, "We waited for one who carries both fire and water in her blood." "Why me?" "Because you do not seek to rule, but to connect." The tree opened a door in its trunk, and inside was a chamber filled with light and knowledge, not written in books, but in living strands of memory. "Here you will learn not to lead, but to listen." Nyash stayed for many seasons, learning the old songs that shaped galaxies, the quiet ways of healing broken stars, the language of roots and rivers, and when she was ready, the tree gave her a gift, a single seed that held the essence of the first bond. "Take it home," the voice said, "and plant it where two worlds meet." Nia returned to the Bridge Academy, not as a student or a teacher, but as a gardener. In the central courtyard, she dug a small hole with her own hands and placed the seed inside. The next morning, a sapling rose, its leaves half silver, half green, its branches reaching for both sun. Children gathered around it, whispering, "What is it?" "It is a promise," Nia said, "that no one is ever too different to belong." Years turned into decades. The sapling grew into a great tree, its roots spreading under the academy, its branches sheltering all who came beneath it. Lyra and Lily grew older, their steps slower but their eyes still bright with love. They often sat under the tree watching Nia teach the next generation. One evening, as the twin suns set, painting the sky in gold and violet, Lily leaned her head on Lyra's shoulder. "Do you think we did?" Well, Lyra took her hand and smiled. "We did not do it alone." Nia joined them, then, her face calm, her spirit full. They sat in silence as the stars blinked awake one by one, and in that quiet moment, the universe held its breath, not in fear, but in wonder, at what love had grown from a single choice to reach across the void and hold on.